joining us on episode number 4 of the Maroon Veterans Alliance Podcast. Today's guest is Kevin. He is a University of Chicago student, and we'll let him introduce himself. Kevin, just give some of your background in the military, what you did, and just talk about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Well, my name's Kevin. I was in the Army for 5 years. Immediately after high school, I joined. So I'm now 23 years old. I served as an intelligence specialist, doing various things, a lot of PowerPoint.
I second that. A lot of PowerPoint.
Yeah.
You were Army, right, Kevin?
Yeah. I think the Intel community largely is pretty well associated with just the Microsoft Office suite in general. It's just that's what you live by.
Yeah, I think for reference, I think all of us right now are prior intelligence. So just for everyone else listening, we all feel that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think you're doing like a lot of cool, badass stuff. And they're like, oh, intelligence, I'm basically James Bond. But I mean, that might be true. I do, I look like James Bond and act like James Bond, but, I didn't get the cool job.
No, I just clicked around on PowerPoint and that's about it. So, well, okay. So you got out really recently, right? Like last year, right before you came to UChicago?
Yeah, I got out in June. So I wasn't as quick as Ian. I think Ian actually was at UChicago in class getting paid on terminal leave. So that's pretty good. But yeah, I was pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely. Why'd you choose UChicago for your next step after the Army?
Well, it's a good school, so there's that. But I feel like that's a pretty tough answer. No, I mean, I'm quite interested vocationally in the hedge fund industry and stuff like that. And UChicago has such a gleaming reputation within the financial community that it definitely sets itself apart in that way.
Absolutely, you came to a great school for that.
Yeah, and I think the veterans program is very enticing as a veteran.
Yeah, did you was Chicago like your first choice, or like where did it fall? Were you looking at other places?
Well, I don't know. I think Rob and I have actually spoken about this a little bit, but my older brother went to UNC Chapel Hill, and I really thought that I was going to go there because it was, it's a really good school and it was close to home and stuff like that. But I went to Warrior Scholar Project, and I really got just a lot more of an idea that I could go to a better school. And when I kind of caught wind of the veterans program in UChicago, filled out the application, got in, and I've been stumbling around, before then too, but ever since then, here in Chicago.
Yeah. So currently, we're part of the Maroon Veterans Alliance, and can you kind of give like what is actually like your title and your position within the RSO that we do?
Yeah, I'm the chief financial officer. What do I do? That's a good question. I also ask myself that. But really, I mean, you guys got the great questions down. I don't have great answers. I mean, I am handling the small amount of finances that we have, but I guess as we've talked about, we're going to try and scale this thing up to be a little bit bigger. So right now I don't have much of a job at all, but hopefully one day if we all kind of do this thing right, I will have a job.
Right. No, and I think that's the ultimate goal too. Talking to Ian and obviously Truman, like I know we have like some short-sighted projects, but the main goal is like looking beyond kind of this year and like really going after the things out there. And part of that is if you're comfortable talking, we're kind of going through a semi rebranding. And if you kind of want to touch on that, if you're comfortable with that, just talk about like what was the motivating factor behind it and like what do you see like coming out of it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I guess I am the right person to kind of get put on the spot about this because I was the big agitator who pushed for this. But
Oh, great.
you know, I don't know how you guys feel, and if there's any non-veteran listeners, then this might seem like an odd point, but I personally feel that sometimes using the term veteran like too much or like too overtly can be kind of odd socially. And I think that we should really attempt while we're young, like if we're going to make any drastic changes, to be like more inviting to the, we're not just trying to be inviting to the veteran population. We're trying to be like, I think we will have no issue being inviting to the veteran population. We like know how to talk to a large majority of veterans, but
Yeah.
what we need to be inviting towards is the student population who's not veterans. And, I think that it could seem possibly exclusive to have the term veteran, where if we named it something more military adjacent or something like that, something recognizable to someone who's like, in the know, but maybe something less aggressively military or whatever. And I don't think the word veteran's aggressive in any way. I just think like
No,
we
but
could
it
maybe do the
immediately,
best thing.
yeah, I was gonna say it excludes people who aren't really interested in anything about the military, and those maybe aren't all the people that we want to join MVA, but we don't want to necessarily exclude them and scare them off without, them having given us a chance.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I just like would love to have an inclusive social environment that we could build. And I don't know if you guys have had any other experience with RSOs on campus, but it's just like every organization here seems like it's run by the people it's run by, which is a bunch of very smart but very busy 18 to 22-year-olds. So like it's not super, like things aren't run very well. They're run with a lot of love, just not like very well. And I think that we could maybe build something that's pretty well made and well run.
No, I think you do touch on a few good points there. One, I do think throwing veteran or like labeling something veteran, although not like carrying a negative like connotation, but it definitely like kind of sets that line in the sand. And I do think it's, especially for MVA as like an organization, I think it's kind of counterproductive of like what the ultimate end goal is for this club. And I am so very, very supportive of the rebranding. I do think it is a positive step forward. And so, hey, any listeners out there, if you have any good title or name suggestions, throw them in the comments because we would love them. Because right now, I think we have like one in the running. But yeah, that note. But as far as the other RSOs, I mean, I think you kind of nailed it, at least from my experiences. I'm in a couple others, but like the people in it and running it are very well intentioned and like have a lot of passion and care. It's just they're being at UChicago, you're just very oversaturated with like a lot of different things. And I do think bringing, I don't want to say like a model organization, but like I think a good basis of organization of how to balance that. I think that would be a very good thing for not just us, but the wider community. But yeah, I do think you bring up some good points. So like, from your perspective, I know we talked to Ian and Truman and kind of their take on MVA. Like, what do you see in MVA? Like, what is the enticing factor of MVA? Because there are other veteran organizations on campus, and like, what kind of separates us? Like, what is in your mind, what separates us?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't necessarily know if there's anything that separates us. What I do think is that we are in a interesting position. We're in a period of limbo where we have like basically 1.5 classes of veterans on campus. And, obviously by the time we are fourth years, we're going to have 4 classes here and probably 4.5 between like the stragglers who took this quarter off or people who end up doing like graduate programs who are still around. So, we might end up having like 100 vets on campus. So whatever, that's like 1/60th of the undergrad population or whatever, but it's still like a pretty good size, probably 1/70th actually. But if you build a foundation on just that of American military veterans, I think that's quite a large population of people. And then if, like we've talked about, expanding to trying to attract a social club of military veterans of foreign nations as well. And then you also add that all these military adjacent people who are either very interested or are Army brats or, just lots of people are very interested in the military in general. And like, I think you start tapping into a large market of people. And I think if you run a social organization that has that large of a group of people who are generally interested in what you're about, and you make it also like a fun experience, you could probably build a pretty large RSO. So that's the hope, I guess.
Absolutely. That sounds great. Oh, I hope we're able to get there. Next year with in-person classes, I imagine recruiting will be a little bit easier.
Yeah. I feel like we're all yearning, like, we're all in the same year, right? Like,
Yeah.
We're all yearning to actually do UChicago, right?
Yeah. Every time I just
so.
went to campus today because I was I actually had to go through campus to get to the hospital because I had to get my first dose. But
yeah,
every time I go on campus, it's just like I notice something new, or it's like people are out and about, and it's just like a weird experience because right now the veterans are in like their own little concrete boxes, kind of. But it's definitely nice to get out and like, it's definitely nice to get out and actually see, like, have a college experience. And I know there's like a lot of things with UChicago, like where fun goes to die, but it's very fun to be out and about and like see the energy of campus and like the architecture and just feel like the traditions of campus. So definitely something we're looking forward to in the near future. Hopefully everything, cross our fingers, works out, but yeah, no, I do think MVA is, I know we talked about this a few times, but I do think MVA is like in a very good position. You kind of touched on it. We're in a very limbo-esque state, but we're very flexible and we're very fluid. We could kind of move in any direction that we see fit, or like the community sees fit. And, some of the aspects are, some of the projects, I know there's like a web series coming out that's kind of pretty cool. You should check that out. I think we're still working on like the logistics of that, obviously with everything going on. There's a talk of a concert, but who knows, we don't know yet. And then
there's a lot of potential regardless.
Yeah.
A lot of potential.
And just some community service, not just within like the UChicago area, but like, the larger area of like Hyde Park and the greater Chicago area. And I mean, I know a lot of people in our RSO are like super energetic and super passionate about the things that they do and things they're interested in. And it's very cool to see that like pot of just energy coming from this organization, like wanting to do better. And I do think the board currently this RSO is in great hands with the board. You guys are doing a very good job for like with what we are dealt this quarter and the past couple quarters, but yeah. Bre, if you have anything else.
I don't really have anything else to add, but I mean, Kevin, if you have anything you'd like to add, plug.
No, I feel like I just don't have anything all that interesting to plug. I do know that if you guys bring on Tyler next, that should be an absolute bundle of fun. Tyler is quite an interesting guy.
He sure is.
Tyler Jackson, he's an ex-Marine, and yeah, he's
hey, always a Marine.
Oh yeah,
you don't want to insult him like that.
That's right. Always a Marine. Yeah, but I just one last thing I think it'd be kind of cool to touch upon is like just a couple things. I mean, you can answer this however you want, but like, what was something that you saw the military, like what drew you to the military? Like, what was something that drew you in? And then kind of like, how was that decision of you finally saying, okay, I'm going to transfer and join, like go to get education your first step, or were you thinking about other things? Like, so if you could kind of talk about that transition as well as what the military did for you, that'd be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, I was like, I guess the idea of the military was always close to my family. I had a lot of like both my grandpas served and stuff like that. But I guess one thing that really weighed heavily on my mind in terms of wanting to join the military as like a young, as a kid in high school, was my parents both grew up in Queens, New York, and my dad. So my mom was a secretary at Citicorp in one of the towers in the World Trade Center, and my father was a New York City fireman. And they moved in 1997, so they weren't super heavily they weren't in New York, but many of my parents' friends, like very, very, very close friends, died and stuff like that in 9/11. So that weighed heavy on my family for my whole childhood. So that was a big motivator. And like my older brother is in the Navy, my younger brother is in the Coast Guard. So it kind of became that way. So that was like a big thing of my thinking. And that coupled with me being an absolute idiot in high school, with I didn't line up any opportunities for myself. I tried to, if I had a bridge, I was like, somebody give me some matches. I have to burn this like as fast as possible. So the military is a really great reset button if you're like physically capable and stuff, of course, as you guys know. And I think I maybe saw myself as a careerist in the military in my first few years after having some cool experiences. But I think like many other people, the charm really wears off, come the second deployment and stuff like that. And you start to look around and really question like, what is this organization I'm doing? Or what is this organization I'm a part of doing? Like, do I think this is the best thing for me as a person? And when there's opportunities like UChicago sitting there, it's hard to sign re-enlistment paperwork, so opportunity cost is huge.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, if you could just like kind of just really quick, just touch on like the whole like transition, like what was that final leap? Like, how did you finally come to that decision of going to UChicago and like coming to this university, and like just quickly about that?
Yeah, well, one thing that's definitely underrated about lining up your like transition so closely with your school date or getting out and your like acceptance to school is, I graduated high school with a 2.1 GPA. It just sounds very crazy to apply somewhere like UChicago and to be confident that you'll be accepted. It's so odd. And so I was just like a real nervous Nelly when I was getting close to transition. When you hit like a period of time, like 5-6 months out, where it's kind of like no turning back, right? Like you tell them like you're getting out and they're like, okay, you're getting out. And like your income sources are going to go away and stuff like that. So, obviously you're betting on the GI Bill starting back up. And I ended up getting in here just like Rob through Posse. So I like knew in December before showing up. So that was really great for me. So I had like a very cool, calm, and relaxed transition. But I guess socially, there's just a lot of things that I remember going through transition, and like I'm sure you guys got it as well. You get told constantly that there's going to be like these weird social interactions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think that was going to be the case.
Yeah, it's always, sorry to cut in. There's always that like weird. So we go through this. I don't know about the Air Force, but I know for the Army we go through this. It's called SFL TAP, Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program, and basically you go through these courses like, finance, how to write a resume, cover letter, basically how to like get out.
Adult.
And there's like a couple classes, at least one, that talks about like social side of life when you get out, and they paint this very like weird picture of what it's going to be like, and
you're going to be an alien going back. That's essentially what they tell you. you're never gonna fit back in with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert, it's not like that at all, obviously. So sorry, go ahead, Kevin, continue.
No, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I guess you guys probably experience this too. It's almost like there's obviously your bosses and stuff kind of want you to stay in. They tell you like they want what's best for you, but then they also try and advise you on like what's the best idea to stay in or get out. And, very often they're telling you to stay in. And it's just very weird because I don't doubt that they have the right thing in mind. Like, I don't doubt that they have your best interests at heart because they themselves continue to re-enlist and stuff. I just don't know if they really know what's on the outside, because I was told often that it would be difficult to find opportunities on the outside. And like, when I look around now at the opportunities we have as students at a school like this, I just can't help but feel like my bosses who advised me that maybe I should stay in were wrong objectively on like what best for me in terms of like highest utility decision. Getting out.
I mean,
for
they
me
just don't
definitely was the
know.
case. Yeah.
Those are the guys that have been in for so long. They can't imagine anything else. So of course they're going to tell you like, no, you have to stay in. You should stay in. It's good here. It's good for you.
Yeah, it's so common.
Yeah, it's like like the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, but it's like they never see that other side of the fence. Like where they're standing, the grass is as green as it's ever going to be. And like on the other side of the fence is like you waking up from the Matrix in like this hellhole. And it's like complete opposite. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. It's just like this blind, it's just, they can't see. It's like, they just can't see beyond. And they definitely, because there's definitely a sales pitch when you're going through transition. And they do paint this like, oh, you're going to lose your income, your healthcare, like all this stuff. And it's going to be super stressful and you're going to be worried all the time and you're not going to fit in. But I mean, obviously all three of us have experienced transitioning and going to UChicago, and it's completely opposite. Like coming here, especially, is like super, it's just very vibrant and like, it's very freeing. And like, I don't know. It's just, that's my opinion. I just think we're in like probably one of the best situations we can be right now.
Yeah.
Just my personal opinion.
Yeah. We got lucky. We're here.
Yeah. The only downside is like, I had a real big habit of just complaining, and I just don't have that much to complain about anymore. And I don't know what to do with all my free time now. So it's
get a hobby, Kevin.
Problem.
Yeah.
I know. I got to do something.
All right, get this wrapped up, but I just want to thank Kevin for taking the time out of his schedule. And as always, Bre, thank you so much for joining.
Of course.
So not this week, but the next week we'll have our next guest, Tyler Jackson, the forever Marine. He still wears his uniform to bed. But I just want to thank you. And, check us out, please. If you see this episode, please just share it with whoever on whichever platform you choose. It really helps us. And especially with our rebranding phase right now, it'll really help us push our message and like what we want to be and who we are as an organization, especially when we start to get back on campus. We really want to connect with everyone, and it's not just like the one side. We want to connect with everyone, and especially at a place like this. So thank you again for joining us. Check us out, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, right? We got Instagram up.
Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. Check us out there. And thank you so much for joining us. See you guys. Thank you for tuning to this week's episode of the MVA Podcast. You can catch us every 2 weeks for new guests and topics. You can also head on over to our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube channel to find the latest updates and content from the MVA.